All right, everybody, welcome back. Sam's Army, episode 2.191. We got a lot to talk about this week. We're going to start with headlines, Russia, Ronny, and FIFA. Weekly What If, another Ronny-related topic here, Ronny and Messi. Premier League, a lot of Arsenal and a lot of arse hurt from especially the people on the panel here. Stoppage time, Ivan Toney's best bets and everyone's favorite segment, GOAWs. Now it is time to welcome in these beauties here today. Shockingly, we are tweetleless this week. Mitch is in New Zealand. Tommy is gallivanting around the world. I think he's in London now. Mikey is, I think he's on his way to Philly to watch a game that Larry will be playing in with the Pelicans. So we've got zero tweetles. So they're missing their big chance. They could have just reveled in the gloriousness that is Arsenal on top of the table and their January championship. Very sad, but I'm sure they'll take the opportunity soon enough. Who is here? First up, we got the dapperest commentator on television these days and the most frequently haircutted human on the podcast. Tyler Terrens is back and as ornery as ever, I'm assuming, coming freshly off of the Liverpool-Brentford game. So your question, one word, I know you love these just like everybody else does, one word review of, I don't know, just Liverpool at the moment.
I don't know. I hate these just like Tommy does and Mikey for that matter.
Everybody does.
Frustrating, disjointed.
Disjointed. Okay, we'll get more into that, I'm sure, soon enough. Who else is here? Tim Parker is back, freshly nuptialized. I don't know if that's a word, but he's freshly wedded. And actually, congrats. I don't know if you were on the podcast before when you went to the St. Louis deal went through. I don't know if you've been on since then or not, but congrats on everything. You know, your whole life is flashed before your eyes and changed in mere weeks, right? So how does it feel?
Yeah, it's been kind of a whirlwind of an off season, that's for sure. But no, I'm excited. I think I go to St. Louis tomorrow, so I'm pretty stoked to get over there and get to work.
I bet. Listen, I don't know how many games I'm gonna get to, but it's gonna be multiple. I can't wait to see. I mean, listen, I've been to the stadium one time. It was awesome. I will say that the stadium is really cool. And just I know that city has just been dying for like an MLS team. And then you just show up there, the first year. It's really coming together. And the fact I go to St. Louis a lot all the time because my wife is from there. Yeah, I'm excited. Probably not as excited as you, but close. Maybe
Yeah,
close
no,
second.
I've heard crazy things about the fans and the situation with the stadium, and even how the stadium's like incorporated a lot of local places into like the food and everything. So I think it'll be a really cool experience. And from what I heard, it's obviously a hot ticket. And I think that as a player, that's something that you want to hear, is that the city's ready to go to games.
Oh yeah, they are. They are. I can't wait to see you lining up there. Let's go to headlines. So let's start with the worst kept secret in soccer at the moment. So Al Nasser in Saudi Arabia has officially signed Ronaldo. That's sort of been talked about up and down at this point. So the more interesting thing that, for me anyway, that came out, recently, was the revelation. I think it was Twellman that put this out. He said that Ronny had come very close to signing with, wait for it, Sporting Kansas City of all teams. Ronaldo playing in Kansas City. I got to get Tim's thoughts on this as our MLS, resident expert here.
I mean, to start off, I'll say that I actually like I've said this multiple times. I think Kansas City is one of my favorite places to play. I think their fans do a great job. I think the club does a really good job of like engaging the city, all of that. But then obviously a big part of me is like, this has to be like, it has to be bullshit. It just can't be real. I mean, I understand like a lot of what comes from like Taylor Twellman comes from the league. And I think the league is probably just trying to say like, yeah, we almost had Ronaldo, so maybe they get some more credibility somehow. But like, if you ever think that Ronaldo is going to move, I'm sorry, anyone that's from Kansas City or
Listen, they're
I,
going to be your
like I
biggest
said,
rival. You might as well just
I
get it
already
out
gave
there.
I already gave my compliments to Kansas City, so I can now
Exactly.
like Ronaldo's not moving there. I'm sorry. Like if he moved there, he'd probably live in like Miami and fly in and out every weekend. Like, I'm sorry, it's just not a real thing. And I even saw something that like Patrick Mahomes was like, yeah, whatever you need from me, like to get it done, let's do it. And in my head, I'm just like, dude, he can sign in Saudi Arabia for 400 million for 2 years. You're making 500 over 10. Like, it's just not, you're not in the same world. Like, and I know Patrick Mahomes is like, don't get me wrong, I'm a big football guy. I'm a big fan of his. But like, I don't know if Ronaldo knows who Patrick Mahomes is.
No chance.
I
Zero
would be
chance.
shocked. I would be
No
shocked if he did.
Like, I just can't see this being a real opportunity. And if it is, go ahead and put like what Kansas City offered him. Because if you really want to back that up and be like, no, this was real, it was almost through. It's like almost is like horseshoes and hand grenades. Like, if it was almost going through, then like I want to see the offer, because it would have had to be, I mean, he would have had to get like equity in the team. Like, I don't know, he probably would have taken over this Apple TV deal. Like, it would have gone on to be like CR7's TV network.
Rebranded.
I can't imagine what they would have thrown at him to make him come here for the money that he would have turned down elsewhere.
Timmy, I agree with you. It probably was like he was not Sporting Kansas City were the closest to potentially having a conversation that might have looked like him potentially going to MLS. That's probably what it was. And they wanted to at least make it seem, the league wanted to make it seem like we were close, and Sporting had the exploratory rights or whatever, that MLS granted them, and they just wanted to run with this. And Taylor is obviously the person to do it on social media. But to be fair, Kansas City does have one of the best training facilities in the league. So in terms of taking care of that temple that is Cristiano Ronaldo's body and those insured legs for $1 billion trillion, that is probably one of the best places to go do it. But yeah, he's not living in Kansas City, and Patrick Mahomes is not helping. And even if he was the highest paid player ever in the history of Major League Soccer at $20 million a year, it's not $100 million a year for 2 years at Al Nassr. It's just not even, like you said, it's not the same. It's not the same planet. It's different kind of money.
Different galaxy. I bet Ronaldo has a better chance of knowing who Jackson Mahomes is based on his like TikTok presence.
Yeah, and Tyler, like you said, like I get it that like Kansas City had the discovery rights, and like that gives them the first dibs, and maybe they did try to put together a package, but like I said, I would love to see what that package entailed, just to like even put a little bit of credibility to that tweet that like, oh, Ronaldo seriously considered Sporting Kansas City. He had 3 meetings, 2 over WhatsApp, 1 over Zoom. It was like, I was like, okay, like, come on. Like, if I was like, okay, like realistically, it could have been like Galaxy, Miami, even like, I mean, New York City, if they had a stadium, could have done it probably, because like Manchester with Man City, like figured out the money, and like with all their windows of opportunity of how they could have paid him and loaned him out or something like that. But I just was like, I mean, my brother texted me about it too, and he was like, man, did you read that? And I was like, it's no chance. I was like,
Also, between Johnny Russell, Gotti Kinda, and Alan Polito, I don't know who you're dropping as a DP to make room for Ronaldo, who effectively is going to ruin your team anyway. So from a roster building standpoint, it makes 0 sense.
He would have came in as a TAM player somehow.
Yeah.
The same deal that Bale did. He got 1.6 million.
Yeah.
I knew Tyler would get some shots.
That's what it would have been. He would have gotten like 600,000, and then YouTube TV would have, or Apple TV would have paid him the extra 19.5 million to compensate.
And then
the
games
other 80 million
games are going to be broadcast with no commentators because they can't afford anything else.
Oh my God. Listen, this is just a fun news story though. Like just thinking about Ronaldo being in Kansas City, I couldn't wrap my head around it. I'm glad I'm not the only one. Let's move on. So Russia, interesting news. So Russia is thinking allegedly about switching from UEFA to the Asian Federation. Interesting timing of this. UEFA is, one of the tough. I mean, UEFA and CONMEBOL, obviously, in South America are tough when it comes to qualifying for the World Cup. But we're now just about to expand to 48, so it's going to get a fair bit easier. I don't know. What are your guys? Tyler? Any thoughts on the news? I mean, listen, Putin has to be behind it. Like,
well, of course he is, but like,
right. So what is it that he's getting up? What's in his brain?
I don't know, but like you said, this doesn't matter if it's moving to 48. If Russia struggles to qualify in a 48 team field, whether it be in Europe or Asia or CONCACAF or wherever they want to be, then they don't.
UEFA is still going to be tough. I don't know what the format will be now, but like UEFA is still going to be tough to get.
Like a team like Sweden is always going to qualify in a 48 team field. It's just a matter of whether or not like maybe Scotland or something like that is going to qualify. Like it's just all going to move up a tier in terms, or move down a tier in terms of who's going to struggle to qualify. And I don't think Russia fall into that category.
Okay. Personally. All right. Timmy, anything?
No, I mean, I do think it's interesting. I mean, Russia is still like considered in both continents. Right?
I mean, they are. It's like this landmass that goes.
I mean, I guess they can pick and choose where they want to be, right?
I'm surprised that they picked UEFA to begin. I would have thought they'd, go Asia all the way through. But I think that there's a lot of positives, obviously, to being.
Does that affect? UEFA. Does that affect their Champions League status for club teams? Like if they're going to register,
you would think. You would think.
So like now they're not going to have any of those teams in Champions League, which is a huge bust for those teams financially, because I'm sure they rely heavily upon whatever group stage fee they get.
True, but they also are not allowed to play in Champions League right now.
And that is also true. And
who knows when they'll be able to?
And they have Russian oligarch money, which isn't as deep as Middle East oil money, but it's fruitful to say the least.
Is it as deep as I don't know what Todd Bailey does, or Todd Bowley does, but what does he do, by the way? Where's his money come from? Is it real estate?
No idea.
No idea.
Wrong person to ask. I love how again you come to me with a political question.
Is that political? That was
yeah, because you let it off as like, well, Putin's behind it, so what's his angle? And you're like, Tyler, share with us your thoughts in your political science major.
Anytime there's like political grenade, I'll just throw it right at Tyler. All right, we'll move on. FIFA, last one. So Infantino definitely does not look like a penis. He announced, seemingly like offhand, I'm sure there was a lot of discussion about this in the back room, that FIFA is going to ask every country in the world to name a stadium after Pele. So we talked about it last week. Pele was, the news was not good. He passed away. He's obviously one of the biggest names, one of the giants of the sport. I don't know, Tim, do you love this idea, hate this idea, sort of don't care?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just a ridiculous ask. Hate the idea, understand the backing behind it, but just don't think it's realistic to ask. I mean, I understand like everyone knows Pele, everyone respects Pele, but to go around and just be like, everyone needs to name a stadium after him in memory of him for him to live on forever is just
how you gonna police that? What do you do to the countries that don't do it? Like, what does that mean?
It has very, very strong please clap for me vibes. Like, it just like, this is a complete, like, first of all, Infantino should just shut the fuck up, period. Like, we don't need to hear from him. We just don't. Nobody likes him. He's just a figurehead. Do your thing, get sort of elected to the head of FIFA again, take your money, whatever. We just don't need to hear from you. Like, nobody likes him. I have nothing personal against him. I do think that he somehow came through all that FIFA stuff and, worked his way to the top, and seemingly hasn't really been tarred with the same things. But like, he was at FIFA for that all the bad shit that went on. So I'm not an Infantino fan, just, plain and simple. And then everything that comes out of his mouth, granted, English is his second language. English is my second language sometimes too, but like, English is his second language, but it just doesn't come out right. Like his whole "I feel gay today" thing, and like, just shut up. Like, just shut up. And so like if this was somebody else who was coming up with this suggestion, like we should name stadiums after Pele in every country of the world, if it was Arsene Wenger, people would be like, yeah, that's cool. It comes out of Infantino's mouth and you're like, just shut the fuck up. And so that's my response. Just shut the fuck up. I don't really want to hear from you. Make your money, do whatever you need to do with FIFA. Just shut the fuck up.
Man, that was a sore spot.
I wasn't even mad. I wasn't mad. I like have no personal animosity towards him. I just like, I don't really care what you have to say, and I don't, whatever. I
think you're like me. After you saw him with Salt Bay, that's when I was officially like,
I think you're like me when I found out about this like Kansas City Ronaldo news. I was like, what? Like, get the fuck out of here. Like,
just shut the fuck up. Oh, all right. I didn't realize that I had such pent-up animosity towards Gianni Infantino. And he does not look like a penis. So everybody stop saying that. Let's go to weekly what if time. So this is a very interesting question. And I think it was actually Mike McGee.
No, it's not. This is not an interesting question.
It is an interesting question.
Mike McGee posed this question too?
He did. I think he did.
How much Sneaky Fox vodka did Mike McGee have before he asked this question?
We got to pose it before we can answer that question. So what if Messi had been on Real Madrid and Ronaldo had been on Barcelona back in the glory days? How would the world be different? So this is not a political grenade, but I'm going to throw it at you, Tyler. You're saying it just wouldn't be any different?
Well, no, the world would be different, but it would never happen. I understand it's a what if, but like it's not a thing because Barcelona would never look at Ronaldo and be like, that's our kind of guy there. Like he's just fucking not. Like so
would Real Madrid be able to work with Messi though?
Yes, because he's the greatest player of all time and he can fit in anywhere.
Okay, all right.
That's why. And whoever that
I kind of agree. I kind of agree. I don't know if Ronaldo would have fit into the Barcelona way back then.
I mean, if
Pep is telling him to stay in one specific spot and is going to yank him if he doesn't do it, even if he scores, he's going to basically, flip a bird to Pep and be like, "Go fuck yourself! Like I'm just going to go play somewhere else where I can do whatever I want." Like Messi is like an actual human being, and he's humble, and he displays some humility, and he wants to be a teammate. Whereas Ronaldo would have never fit into that system where he actually has to do a job and actually has to do things for the team that he doesn't necessarily want to do.
I'm gonna be a devil's advocate here. I think that we're talking about Ronaldo, not 2022, who is this sort of just larger than life, larger than the club. Obviously his ego has gotten huge. I think back in the day, if we're talking 15 years ago, things would be a little bit different, perhaps. I do agree with you, though. Like he just would not necessarily fit that tiki-taka
Those Madrid teams were not exactly tactically rigid and not
at all
founded in like fundamentals of the game that all of them had been working through for the past 15 years of their lives, and then finally found themselves in the first team. Like it was just sort of throwing together the Galacticos or whatever version of that was, and just saying, go do your thing, which is great and it's fine, but that's the way Real Madrid operates. Like if Ronaldo might have lasted 12 to 16 months with Barcelona. And not from not succeeding and not scoring, but just in terms of like his personality would not have fit in that dressing room and with what they were trying to accomplish at the time.
Now, yeah, I think back like that time period of Barcelona was such like good soccer to watch that like even though Messi like was still like the spotlight of that team, there were so many other players that like had unbelievable years there, where Ronaldo probably wouldn't have been okay with those other guys doing so well. He would have been like, no, like, and yes, we're talking about Ronaldo 15 years ago, but I think Ronaldo 15 years ago still felt the same way where he was like, I need to be like, obviously,
I need my goals.
Yeah. Like,
I'm aware, and I want to say this one thing as well, Timmy, sorry, is that I know that he played for Sir Alex, but the moment that Ronaldo's name and his talent started to get too big, Sir Alex said, fuck you, and nobody's bigger than Manchester United. So yes, we'll sell you to Real Madrid so you can go be the star that you want to be. Barcelona, not necessarily as rigid as Sir Alex's Manchester United, but like I think kind of similar in the sense that like you have to fit into the system, and Messi found this great position in a false nine to be able to do so. But yeah, like if Ronaldo is playing that position or is playing as a true nine or whatever it might look like, or even on the wing, like I just don't think he can hack it from a mental standpoint.
He would have been on the wing at that point. But there have been players, like, I'm trying to think, like Thierry Henry is one that you don't really think of as sort of being that Barcelona style. He fit in there.
Well, he had to learn, but I think that
that's true.
Thierry Henry is also a cerebral enough guy and a grounded enough guy to be able to look himself in the mirror and be like, okay, this coach is asking me to do this and I'm playing for the best team in the world with the best players in the world. Let me just buy in and see if he's right. And that's what the documentary was talking about. And what Thierry was talking about specifically, he's like, it's one thing for a coach to say something. It's another thing for them to tell you to do something. And then he's right 9 times out of 10. Like, if you stay over here, I promise you the ball will find you at the back post. And I promise you are going to get your goals. Like, and that's what Thierry said. He was like, that was the most annoying thing about Pep, was that he wasn't just telling you to do things. He was telling you to do things, and literally, like, it unfolded and came to fruition like very, very shortly thereafter. And all the guys were like, okay, we have to listen to this guy because he actually knows what he's talking about.
Okay. That was a nice little advertisement for the is it on Netflix, the documentary?
Yeah, take the ball, pass the ball. Really good.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on. Premier League time. So there's some wild results from the last week. So we got City Everton 1-1, Newcastle Leeds scoreless. I don't know how the fuck that happened. Spurs losing to Villa 2-0. Forest and Chelsea drawing 1-1, and then just moments ago, Brentford hanging in a crooked one on Liverpool 3-1. So I'll start with you, Timmy. From the the games this week, was there one that sort of made you that you're most sort of interested in, most I wouldn't say excited about, obviously that's the wrong word, but what was the result that caught your eye the most?
Yeah, I think I'm just going to start off with the Leeds Newcastle game. I think Leeds has had like a good year in terms of they've bounced back. Jesse Marsch has done some good things, but they've had a lot of talk in the transfer window of who they're going to sign, who they're going to bring in. And I think going to Newcastle, or it was in Newcastle, wasn't it?
What was that game? I didn't have I usually have the screen open.
Either way, I enjoy seeing Jesse Marsch.
That was at Newcastle.
It was at Newcastle, right?
Yep.
I enjoy Jesse Marsch being as animated and truly showing how much he cares about winning and doing well and coaching those guys. And I think that they're really starting to buy into how he is and what he wants. And I mean, I always enjoy watching Tyler play too. So seeing him, and obviously his little bully moment was kind of funny, but yeah, I mean, I enjoy watching guys that I definitely personally know. So that result definitely spoke to me. And I think that they've had a good year and that they can continue to do well. But then also on Newcastle's side, like, playing against Miguel Almiron, he's having a hell of a year. And Newcastle, with what their future looks like as a club, is really enticing, to say the least.
Yeah, we've talked about it before. They're ahead of schedule. Like, they haven't really even brought the kind of financial resources that they have available. They haven't really brought them to bear yet, which is scary.
Not even close. Not even close.
Which is really, really scary. So off to you, Tyler. Which result spoke to you for whatever reason?
I'd like Timmy's shout of the Newcastle Leeds game. I mean, there should have been the goals that you needed for whatever best bet that you had, because I think you had the over in that game, didn't you?
Yeah.
I mean, there should have been 5 goals.
I couldn't believe it. I was like, what is going on right now? Oh.
But that was like a proper English game. Like, it was pouring rain. It was hard. Guys were fucking with each other. Like, that was a really fun game to watch. I mean, anything that Arsenal's doing right now on the road is impressive, because again, and I said before that game and before this weekend on last week's episode that, like, going to Brighton is another test for this Arsenal team, specifically without Jesus. And somebody made the shout on Twitter, and I don't think that we should ignore it, that, like, Martin Odegaard might be the best player in the Premier League right now.
That's a bold statement, really. I didn't think I saw that.
I'm not saying I 100% agree with it. You can say Erling Haaland if you want, but in terms of influence on a game and, cooking in a way that has his team at the top of the table by a significant margin right now, I don't know how you can ignore that comment and at least try to put up a good argument for it. He's been spectacular, and like he's the captain of an Arsenal side of 24 years old, and the way that he controls the game and his vision and his like he's just such a high IQ guy, and that's why Real Madrid loved him. But like he's so freaking good. So the Brighton Arsenal game probably stood out the most to me. Brighton put up a little fight at the end. And I don't think Brighton played all that poorly. They weren't great, but Arsenal are just they're fucking good, man.
They did look good. Brighton, the thing about Brighton is that they took so long to get into the game. Like they just were not ready for the start. At the end, the second half, I mean, they were there and they were, pushing Arsenal and everything.
Oh, the other one is Wolves and United. The whole Rashford debacle with him oversleeping one day during training that week, and then being subbed on as a Timmy. You just rolled your eyes there. What, you don't believe that?
No. I mean, I just can't believe that's still a thing that people can do.
Oversleep or get suspended for
oversleep. Like I find that so hard to believe.
What about showing up to the wrong stadium? Somebody did that in Major League Soccer not too long ago.
Really? Is that an unknown secret? Are you breaking news here?
The team, I'm just telling you, there was a team in the Eastern Conference, and a dude showed up to the wrong stadium.
Oh my god!
I mean, it had to be New York City,
right? It would have to be New York.
No,
right?
There are plenty of other teams in the in the not plenty of other. There might be one or two other teams that play at multiple places, but anyway, continue.
I'm now like my brain is like trying to figure out the riddle of that. My brain's not big enough to do it. But yeah, United. Well, listen, that United Wolves game, it was perfect for Ten Hag, right? I mean, like he's laid down the law. He's a disciplinarian. They, so he sat Rashford on the bench. Rashford comes in the second half, immediately scores. So, and then they go on to win. So it's like, Ten Hag looks like a genius and a disciplinarian, and he controls the team and all that stuff. Rashford probably, it's water under the bridge now. He made a mistake, and but he paid for it, and then he scored a goal. It was like it couldn't have gone better for Ten Hag or United on that situation. Timmy.
Yeah, and it's like one of those things where, like, as a player, like I said, like oversleeping is like one of those things that's just like a crazy thing to come by. Like, but definitely as manager, he looks like an absolute genius. And I bet that it was even in the relationship, like where he's like, look, I know you overslept, like, or I don't know, maybe I'm being crazy, but I could see like the thing going as if like he was like, look, like I have to do this. And then you'll come on at halftime and like, I need you to like be flying. Like, this is your mistake. You have to clean up for it, basically.
And he did. So they both got out of it. They both came out of it looking okay, which is, the
post Ronaldo vibes continue to be immaculate. That's all I have to say.
I know. United. We'll get to power rankings in a little bit. But yeah, United just get Ronny out of there, and they're that's like a brand new ball game.
Sporting will be better off given the fact that he passed. Okay, because they had a great offer on the table, and he's like, you know what, I want to go play in Saudi Arabia.
Sporting will be better off. MLS will be worse off.
Yes, Sporting will be better off.
Sporting big winners on the week.
But if there's one guy to wrangle Cristiano Ronaldo, it's probably Peter Vermees, if we're being honest.
There's no wrangling Ronaldo at this point. I know there's no wrangling him. Wrangling is the present participle.
Have you seen Peter Vermees upset before?
I actually have not.
I just can't. I just would love to see like how quickly things would have changed for Sporting too. Like they would have started staying in like better hotels.
That's true. It would have been a big win for the players.
We fly like Sun Country Airlines. They would have been getting like their own private plane from.
Whoa, what's wrong with Sun Country? I actually enjoy those flights.
Like I said, it would have been a situation.
He measured his words on that one. I mean, listen, the big loser there would be Sporting's Instagram and social media admin, because Al Nasser's like Instagram and Twitter and all that, they basically like tripled the number of followers overnight.
Who cares? Are people actually going to tune in to watch this garbage though? Are you going to go? Is somebody going to go buy Fubo TV or whatever they need to have in order to watch this? I could not care less.
I don't know. I have no idea how to watch a Saudi Arabian league. I have no clue. They have to make it available now, though. It's probably going to be
on Apple TV.
Imagine
doubt it.
somehow we if Ronaldo came to MLS, we might have been able to sucker him into a Sam's Army like podcast somehow.
See
Not with the amount of slander that comes out of my mouth. He probably would demand that. I'm sure his people would go back and comb through every episode and be like, "Fuck the guys who don't like him."
There's been a lot of Ronaldo slander on the podcast. I will say that. And Tyler's led the charge. Big Cat was right there with you. Yeah. Oh well, what could have been, or what maybe will be. We'll see. I don't know. All right. So I don't know how we got so far off the track on that one. Any other games? I mean, we got to talk about. Let's just talk about Tottenham. Let's get this. Get this off our chest.
Fucking stink. There's nothing to talk about.
Yeah, they're bad.
That was terrible. That performance against Aston Villa last week was just absolute garbage. It was embarrassing. It wasn't even disappointing because it was so far beyond the pale of disappointment. It was just sad. And so like the team stinks right now. There's no other way to say it. But here's the thing. I'm always willing to find a way to put a positive spin on things. We brought in 3 guys. We spent a lot of money on making this team sort of more dynamic, bringing more creative players in. Those players, Richarlison, Bentancur, and especially Kulusevski. None of those 3 are available right now. Kulusevski should be back, I think, this week. I don't know about the others too. But like this team is just different when they're on especially Kulusevski. They're just a different team. So like as much as I was just so pissed off and just like done with Tottenham, at least for the day. I mean, I always come back the next day, but like it's hard to judge how good or bad this team is based on that performance without the players that we did not have. That said, it's still bad. I mean, it was so bad that like, we can make these excuses for guys being injured and all that. That was freaking terrible. I mean, we have this. They need to spend some money in January. I don't know if they're going to get any money. They need to spend some money on the wing backs because ours are just absolute garbage right now. Doherty, Ben Davies. I guess Davies playing some center back, but like we're just not good enough. We're not good enough right now. And if without those players, the difference makers that we're missing, like we have absolutely no shot at top 4, like none at all. I do think that we will finish top 4 because I do think those guys will come back and I have faith that they'll stay healthy, but that was terrible. I don't know. Timmy, anything else?
Yeah, no, I mean, you might have a little bit more faith than I do. I just think, like you said, they need to spend money on wing backs if they even will. But it sucks because there are moments where you're like, man, Tottenham can be good. And then there's moments like now where I feel like even before the World Cup break, we're like, man, we don't know where they're going to be after the World Cup. And then it happened and it's almost at that moment where you're like, oh.
You guys just have so many likable, fun, talented players. Maybe not so many, a handful of, but they just
5, at least 5.
They're just handcuffed. And you can lose 2-0 and still have it be fun and still make it look like you were trying. That was some of I turned it off. I just didn't care to watch it anymore.
I don't blame you. It was terrible. It was awful.
Felt like a chore.
That's the sort of risk you take with hiring a guy like Conte, right? I mean, when you play Conte ball, it's similar to the Jose ball. The margin for error is small. And if you don't win, then not only are you not winning, but you're also not entertaining. And people just can't get down with that. Like when we had Pochettino, I know we were spoiled, but like we didn't always have to win. And we didn't always win. we lost a lot, but we were always entertaining and we were always going for it. We're always and this is a different team now and all that, but like Conte, like his remarks after the game were kind of interesting. He was like, we're building a foundation. He said that we're not there. We're just not there yet. We're building a foundation. His contract is up in the summer. So like, this is a really interesting, like, I don't know how this is going to go, Like if we limp in and finish somewhere from 5th to 8th, do they bring him back? Would he even want to come back? Like, I don't know how that situation is going to play out. It'll be interesting to see. But the fact that they're not re-upping him.
What is your guys' plan for Perisic? Like, is he just playing there because you need him to play there at the wingback position? Like, he's clearly not a wingback. Like, I don't understand what is the and if Kulusevski is healthy, then he's going to play out on the wing, and you're not going to bench so what? You bought Perisic to be a bench player, to be
Definitely
a rotating guy, to be a
not.
Champions League guy.
You could say the same thing about Richarlison, right? I mean, we have this extra depth. The problem is that like we have guys like Richarlison and Perisic who are like they're quality. This is a high quality type of player. And then we got fucking Matt Doherty and Ben Davies and guys that like are just like, I'm sorry, they're probably really nice guys, but they're not good enough. They're not good enough to be on a team if you're going to be competing for what we would like aspire to compete for.
Yeah. Ben Davies definitely like 3-4 years ago, I thought had the ability to break in and be a next level player. But now, I mean, you just have to understand it. He's just not going to take you to the top 4 spots. No. And like maybe he's a good guy to have on the
right, team. He seems like a great guy. If you've watched like I hate like talking shit about him. He seemed like a really nice guy in the documentary, but that doesn't make him like you're just not good enough. I'm
like he might be good to bring off the bench, or like if someone gets injured, he might be able to play 10, 12 games a year, but like he's not someone that you're like, okay, like he's our day in, day out starter and he's going to take us to the top 4 spots and play us into Champions League, because he's not that good.
Yeah, that's where we're at. We got to spend, like we have to upgrade at some positions and we have to get healthy and stay healthy. And so those are 2 big question marks, unfortunately. And the Conte situation, by the way, with his contract, I mean, that's just something to watch. That'll be interesting.
That's a nightmare.
Yeah, I mean, like the fact they're not re-upping him now is just, it's weird. Okay, any other results that we want to talk about? We haven't talked about Forest Chelsea. Chelsea's not in a great spot at the moment, although Boli is spending his freaking tits off. You see all these like new, like young, they're buying all these young guys. Yeah, they're building for the long term. I'll give them that. City Everton, by the way, what was going on there? Do you just think it was just like a one-off weird?
It's just one of those games sometimes where City, think that one goal can sometimes be enough, and they miss some glaring chances. And fucking Damari Gray with a wonder strike. That's
a hell of it.
The recipe for success against City is you need them to be at basically their worst, and you need to score, and you need to have some sort of moment of individual brilliance or a mistake from City, which is rarely going to happen. But everybody was dropping points except for Arsenal, and then Liverpool showed that how vulnerable they are today, and it's just like I don't know. I chalk it as a one-off.
Well, that brings us to the next question. So now without the Tweedles here, so we can get some unbiased opinions. Wink. Is Arsenal going to win this fucking thing or what? Like they're up.
Remains to be.
If you look at the stats, right there's all these stats, and what was it that ESPN FC tweeted out about? Here, let me say it. So never has a Premier League club with as many points as Arsenal, 43 points at this stage of the season. Never has that club not won the league.
Was the gap last year between City and Liverpool was 13 or 14 points at one point in time. Liverpool never actually caught them, but they did get it to, I think, a point or got it tied. And that required Liverpool to go on like a streak of like 14 wins. City can do that. I don't know how much longer this is going to last for Arsenal. I think with Europa League and Cup stuff and the injury to Jesus, like the wheels are going to start to come off at some point. I don't know when that's happening, but like this is far from over, and City are going to push. And these kids, what do they know about protecting a lead in the Premier League? And you lose one game and City wins one game, and then all the wheels start to spin about like what this is going to look like. Like this is not. I'm not going to entertain that question right now, even though
I love that we can have this discussion without any of the Tweedles.
Well, I was almost just going to defend them to a little bit and be like, I feel like even they have to know like if there's going to be a team that blows it, it's going to be Arsenal, right? Like if there's going to be a team that's like done it in
Assuming
like,
it's not Spurs.
yeah, but like realistically speaking, like yes, Arsenal's like playing unbelievable. Like Man City has the experience. Like if they start rolling, I mean, they're not going to stop scoring goals. That's for sure about Man City. And if Arsenal feels a little bit of pressure, like we said, they're all young. Can they really pull it off? I don't know. I mean,
They need
if a
City.
club's going to blow it, it's going to be them.
They need City to be. They need City to be second to third average. They are
Yeah.
not going to protect this lead if City start to rattle off 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 wins in a row. Like they need City to continue to draw games like Everton, and for De Bruyne not to be at full strength, and for Haaland to score 1 goal but miss 7 sitters. Like that's what they need. They will not be able to fend off City at full throttle.
One thing I was thinking about, because I've sort of been waiting for it to happen, is an injury to Haaland. If that happens, like they might actually do
Not
that.
possible.
That's listen, it's happened before. Strangely, he as robotic as he seems. So Arsenal, I put up the Twitter, Instagram vote and asked people, what they thought, whether Arsenal was actually going to win this. 43% said yes, they will win it. 57% said that they will blow it. And
Right,
the
then a little more than half of our listeners are know what they're talking about. That's pretty good.
pretty good. It's pretty good. Based on political spectrum. Wait. I was going to try and throw you a grenade, but I'll just stay away from it. The bookies still think that City's going to win. Like they're still, I think it's minus 125 last I saw, that City is going to be champs versus I think plus 125 for Arsenal. So I do got to give Arsenal a little credit. Like they're playing really well. Like maybe they just don't realize it yet, but like they've played themselves into an actual legitimate conversation about being title contenders. Whereas in September, at least I was sort of laughing, or I would have laughed at them being in the actual conversation. Arteta's done a good job.
I would love to see what those odds are if like next weekend Arsenal lose and Man City win, to see what the Vegas odds would change to, because then I don't think I personally could put money on Arsenal to win the league, but it sounds like it could be a very good numbers game.
Well, what I was thinking was put money on City right now, because I think this is probably like the best odds you're going to get on City to not, to win the league at the right here, right now. Because the first game, actually the next game to be played in the Premier League, I believe, is Arsenal and Newcastle, if I'm not mistaken. Let's see. Leicester Fulham is actually, it kicks off at the same time. So Arsenal is hosting Newcastle tomorrow, and that is Tuesday. I mean, that's a huge, huge game.
Yeah.
And I think we're going to learn, I don't, we've learned, I've said this before about Arsenal, and they just keep on keeping on. So I don't want to be just the total hater here, because they've won some big games, and I thought that win against Brighton was impressive. To go away to Brighton, even, the way they sort of wilted a little bit at the end, that was still a nice win, and not the first time they've done that this season. This game against Newcastle should be interesting. So using that as the jump off point, we'll do Tyler and Mitch's favorite segment here. We'll keep it quick. Power rankings. Now, Timmy, so this is if they played right now, right? So if they played right now, who would be your top 4? And then we'll do bottom 3. Do you want to go first, or do you want to make somebody else be the sacrificial lamb on this one?
Yeah, let one of you guys go first.
Okay. Tyler, you want to rock, scissors, paper, or you want to go?
No, I'll go. Arsenal, City, Newcastle United.
I got the same 4. I got a different order, but I got the same 4. Spurs, second half Spurs is long. They're out.
What are you about to say right now?
Listen, I sort of went back and forth on this one. I'm gonna get a lot of hate. I'm definitely gonna get some hate for this one. I'm keeping City up top. I'm sorry. I just think that they're the best team. If they played Arsenal right now on a neutral field, I would pick City to win that game. I just would. So I'm keeping City up top. I know they just drew with Everton at home, which is it hurts my argument. I'll say that. And Arsenal going away to Brighton, impressive. Here's where people are really going to hate me. So I got City up top. I got Newcastle number 2. I know somebody's going to roll their eyes. Yeah, Tim. I didn't get an eye roll from Tyler. I got City, Newcastle, Arsenal, United right now. And I'm saying that.
You really genuinely believe after Arsenal just put up 4 on the road against Brighton that Newcastle's better than them? You genuinely believe that? Don't be the Skip Bayless. Don't be the Skip Bayless of this podcast just for the sake of being it.
I'm not being. I'm saying this, and I actually do believe it.
I don't know if you believe this.
I do, and we're gonna find out tomorrow. This is what. Listen, I'm sort of putting my nuts on the table because I'm gonna get proven right or wrong tomorrow. If Newcastle goes to Arsenal,
you're being very Skip Baylessy. That is a Skip Bayless comment.
I mean, can I flex like him for the can Ernestine like do some sexy pics with him? Listen,
I also heard that he slipped a disc while he was taking a shit too.
God damn it. That was setting confidence, by the way.
Yeah, no, it's no longer.
That was pre-show.
It's no longer in confidence. There are certain things that I like to bring into the actual show that are said on the pre-show. For those of you who listened to last week's episode and you heard that Sam had a back injury, you should know that he injured it while he was taking a dump. So
for the record, it wasn't an acute injury. It's been a herniated disc.
Anything that's coming out of his mouth or his asshole is skewed, and that is a fact.
I didn't realize that the hate I was going to get was going to come so quickly.
I just think that that's such a stupid thing for somebody who's typically like at least somewhat logical with these things.
Listen, okay, so you're saying that like Arsenal is just sort of far and away above Newcastle right now? Like it's just not even really.
I don't think it's that close in terms of like who would win. I mean, yeah, if they played one game on a neutral field, I definitely think Arsenal win. If they played 10 games, I think that Arsenal probably win like 4 and they draw 3 and Newcastle wins. I guess that would mean 3. So a little bit higher up on the Arsenal side, but you understand what I'm saying.
5, 3 and
Timmy, can you back me up on this?
So I think for sure. So I'm gonna go City 1. I'm gonna go Arsenal 2. I'm gonna go Man U 3 and then Newcastle 4. So I think Man U.
With that. Yeah.
I think Man U post Ronny phase, like we've all said, they can definitely put up points. I mean, I don't know if I hope to see Newcastle continue to do well. And then obviously, like we said, I mean, if Man City start rolling, can Arsenal hold on and have the balls to be able to protect this top of the table like they have been? It is interesting to see, but like Sam said, I think Man City's just the better team. So at the end of the day, if I end up being wrong, I'll just be like, okay, well, they are the better team.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, I think it's a little slander. I think it's a little fun putting Newcastle above Arsenal, but I don't see that happening.
Unbiased opinions.
Like I see Man United jumping Newcastle.
Yeah, the vibes of United are good. We've been talking about how just get rid of Ronny and everything's different, and it seems to be true. Okay, let's go bottom quickly. I mean, this probably is fast. Southampton for me. Yeah, I mean there's a lot of ugliness down there. I'm gonna go Southampton at 20, Wolves at 19. There's a shout for a couple teams to be at 18. I'm keeping Forest in there. They looked actually quite decent in the second half against Chelsea. I was surprised. They came out, they went for it. This was after just an absolute putrid first half. They looked disgusting. That second half against Chelsea was pretty respectable. They were the better team for a lot of that 45. They got the draw. I'm still not convinced by them. And I do think teams like Bournemouth will probably join them somewhere down in that 18-17 mix. West Ham and listen, Everton, give them a little flowers. They got a draw with City, which is not nothing. West Ham's disgusting right now. They're gross. I should probably put them in the bottom three. I don't have them in there, but they're just disgusting right now. So I got Southampton, Wolves, Forest. Any big any quibbles there?
I'll throw West Ham in there for Forest.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm basing this off of a lot of games that Forest has looked just absolutely terribly, like against
But
Man
Sam,
United.
this is if they were to play tomorrow. It's not based on what's happened.
I know, but if I were to answer that question, I still think I would take West Ham. As bad as they have been, as bad as they are at Forest, it's a different story. I think they are a better team at home. Like they clearly are. They play different. They just look different. They got that crowd behind them. West Ham.
I don't know.
Bad.
West Ham just lost to Brentford.
That's not nothing though.
At home, 2-0. They got shut out, and Brentford put up 2 goals on them at home. Forest drew Chelsea. I'm taking Forest.
Yeah, I'm not. I don't think I'm ready.
Bias.
I don't think I'm ready to put Everton down there quite yet. West Ham's been really bad, and then the bottom three. I mean, yes, Forest had. I don't know. I mean, Wolves and Southampton for sure, and then like you guys said, that last spot's up for grabs between West Ham, Forest. I think Everton will figure it out, and I don't think that they'll be really relegation zoned. But
Sam, you can't call me out for recency bias. The whole point of this segment is what has happened. Where are they in your power rankings based on their most recent results?
That's true.
What the?
I gotta come up with an argument somehow.
What are you smoking today? How are those painkillers?
Oh, I need some. All right, power rankings done. Let's quickly go through the games ahead. There's some big ones. We just talked about Newcastle Arsenal. I've already cat is out of the bag who I think is going to get a result there. I do think that Newcastle, I think they win that game. But it's at Arsenal, so like I'm kind of I'm going with the draw. Like if I had to say what I think is going to happen in that game, I'm just excited to see because we've said this before, but Arsenal, man, they just keep winning. They just keep putting up good results. I don't want them to, but they do. So there's Newcastle, Arsenal. Then there's another one, is Chelsea hosting Man City. Any of those two or any other games stand out to you guys?
Chelsea are going. All of Chelsea's struggles are going to come out in one game.
So you think this is the game where it's sort of
angry City coming off of a draw at home, going up against a Chelsea side that has been limping.
Yeah,
I think this could be really bad.
That would be. For some reason, not for some reason, for an obvious reason, Chelsea. When they go down hard. It's always funny to watch when some other club is really going through it, and I feel like.
Also, hate to cut you off. Is Jesse officially on the hot seat if they don't pick up all 3 points against West Ham?
God. Well, who they got coming up after that? We got West Ham, then we got some FA Cup, I think.
Villa
weekend, and then Villa. I mean,
you have to pick up 4 or 6 points, or I think that there's going to be.
West Ham's lost their last 4.
They've been bad.
West Ham's lost a lot. So if Leeds doesn't somehow,
they've lost the last 5. Yikes! If not more than that, just in the form guide, they've lost 5 in a row. Yeah, that's tough. I mean, the thing is that the fact we're even asking this after they just drew with Newcastle, it means that it just feels like it's inevitable, right? It feels like I don't want it to happen, but I just feel like the fans are just waiting for an excuse to turn on him. Maybe I'm just projecting my American insecurities at this point, but that's what I feel like. I feel like the fans are just waiting for an excuse to really turn on him.
I guess my question is where were the expectations for this Leeds team? Were they expected to do all that much better, like without Jesse Marsch, like whoever else they could have hired. Like, I'd love to know where their expectations were, and if they're like, oh, we should be whatever, a 12th place team rather than like 14th. It's like, okay, well, I mean, sure, but like, I mean, some of the
They're in
results.
14th now, right? And
That's what
keep
I'm
in
saying.
mind, they
So
haven't
like,
had Bamford for basically a year at this point, if not longer. They sold Rafinha. Like, so like they're not like the Leeds team that they were 2 years ago. Like, they're not. So yeah, I do love, they brought in Aronson, they brought in Adams. So it's not nothing. And I've been loving watching those guys play over there, but like, I don't know what the expectations are. I think that's
yeah,
a good question for Leeds. But yeah, that's a good question about whether he's officially on the hot seat. I think I think there's the seat is constantly warm to hot. Like, it's just,
we've always got the seat warmers on,
yeah,
at least one level 1 or 2.
that's the sense
I
I've
mean,
always had.
there's also an interesting game. There's the toilet bowl game.
We got,
Southampton, not and Forest.
oh yeah, I mean,
I mean,
that's a
if you want
huge
to
game.
watch, like, I hope that game is just like how Newcastle and Leeds was, where it is pouring down rain, and we just get to see like some absolute English soccer. I mean, it would be incredible. It would be the epitome of like a bottom 3 game, just because it just adds all that much more flavor and chaos to it,
It's gonna feel like a glorified championship game,
which is perfect. So give me the set piece, give me all the set pieces, like give me like a Chris Wood somehow finds his way, like Chris Wood goal. That's
oh,
all.
they'll transfer him in for one game. Yeah, I mean, I don't even want to talk about Palace Tottenham at this point. Like, it just depends on who's available. If Kulusevski's not playing, just FML, we're gonna be just as bad as we just were. All right, let's wrap it up. Stoppage time. Ivan Toney's best bets, and of course, GOAWs. Now, Tyler, you usually have an extravagant parlay for us. Do you have one this time?
I do. I always do.
Attaboy.
Give me a draw between Arsenal and Newcastle. Hopefully you release this before that game starts so the good people.
Oh, it'll be out tonight on Monday for sure.
Good for you.
Us.
And then give me a win for United at home against Bournemouth. That should do nicely. Nothing crazy. Nothing crazy.
Nothing crazy. All right. I mean, well, listen, if you get the Newcastle draw, which I actually think is the right result too, anything, the odds will be pretty good. Timmy, you got anything for us?
I'm trying to look right now. I'm not going to touch the Arsenal Newcastle game just because of I like Brighton to beat Everton, Man United to beat Bournemouth. Fulham Leicester, I like a tie there.
Ooh, Leicester's a team that I had higher expectations for coming out of the break. They have not been great. I mean, that I don't know. They've had a tough schedule. Obviously, the loss to Liverpool was not good. And who was it before then? Newcastle. They got railroaded by Newcastle. Yeah, that's interesting. Fulham. We haven't talked about them too much, even though they got Ream Team and Anthony Robinson. But man, they've been like consistently good this season. And this is a team that coming into the season, I'm pretty sure they were in the bottom 3 in all the bookies, expectations. They've been quite good this season. Where are they at in the table right now? 8th. Oh, Fulham in 8th.
Yeah, I mean,
Goodness.
I didn't actually know that they were that high, but I was just like, oh, a home game versus Leicester.
They're ahead of Chelsea. They're ahead of Brighton. They're ahead of Palace. They're ahead of Villa. They're ahead of Leicester. I mean, like, they're below Brentford. Brentford's in 7th right now. Man, those good for them. Good for them. I've been saying that Brentford is a legit opponent, and I guess I haven't really been giving Fulham enough love. Good for them. Good for Fulham. even though you think they're going to draw with Leicester. Let's see. I've actually been doing okay with my overs and my, both teams to score type thing. I don't know where I'm going to go with it. I had a couple written down, but I don't want to go with the Newcastle Arsenal draw because Tyler basically wants that. I did like your shout with City just putting an ugly number on Chelsea.
Like an alt line on that. Yeah.
I do kind of like winning by, City minus 2.5 or something,
Yeah. Yep.
something ugly
That
like
might
that.
be the spread, honestly, but yeah.
It really might. I think I'm going to go just keep it simple though and go with Villa Wolves under. I know that's boring, but I just think there's probably no goals in that game. Or if there is, it'll be like 1-0 for somebody. I don't know who. Finally, everybody's favorite segment. Time to finish this up on a high. GOAWs time. Timmy, you got anybody lined up for us?
I always feel like my Goa is never soccer related, and
That's okay.
I'm gonna keep riding that train. Tom Brady, apparently new girlfriend, which is why he just had his best fantasy week of the year.
Were you in the fantasy
Also,
playoffs? Is that why you know this?
I didn't have him, but I did win my fantasy championship.
Oh,
Yeah. So everyone was saying, I mean, I was looking at it yesterday and people were like, man, Tom Brady's been really good the last 2-3 weeks. And then boom, he's dating this. I mean, you guys have to look her up. Veronica Racek is her name. And she puts, I'm sorry, but there's not that many people that can put Giselle to shame, but she does. And if there's a guy and if there's someone,
yeah, whoa.
And the reason Tom Brady's playing good football again, that could be the reason.
What's her Veronica? What?
Racek, Rajek. And apparently she was at the game in a Tom Brady jersey.
That's hot.
So
I'm a Jets fan, and that's hot.
Yeah, I mean, you got a picture, like, here it is. Like, she's at the game in a Tom Brady jersey. I'm like, yeah. I mean, now he just clinched the playoffs. It's just Brady season,
Yeah, listen, he's married to the game, but he's got enough room in his social calendar. Good for him. Good for him. All right, good shout. Tyler, you got anybody for us?
Oh boy. I'm gonna say, I can't believe I'm going to say this. I'm gonna give a big shout out to Brentford. Albeit this is coming against my club today, but I think what they've done for the past, did they have Ivan Toney for the West Ham game? Yes, they did. But I think like their form as of late and sort of, they were coming off of last year where they were riding all these vibes and they beat Arsenal on opening day and everybody was high on them and then they slumped a little bit. But for them to beat Liverpool the way that they did without Ivan Toney is pretty spectacular. And I think that Thomas Frank, like, he's going to end up getting a big job at some point. If and when, it's probably a when, his magic starts to run out of Brentford, everybody needs a new change of scenery. But I just think that, like, for them to do that without Toney is pretty incredible. Again, against a Liverpool team that just is defying all the odds, especially when it comes to Nunez in terms of how many big chances you can miss in the span of 2 weeks. But yeah, shout out to Brentford. I think that they're a fun team to watch right now, and they're very, very likable. And I enjoy them even when they're beating my team.
Fair. And they had 2 goals called back. Like, they could have been up 4-0 at halftime.
If the queen had balls, she'd be the king. Like, come on. What do we
Those were both real close to being goals. And if it was 4-0 at halftime, it would have looked a little differently, even more differently than it already did. I will give my quick shout out to one, Joao Felix. of Atletico Madrid. I don't know what the situation is, but Twitter is like going ham on his relationship. He's got like, first of all, I haven't really gotten into it because it feels like sort of borderline weird. He's 23, his girlfriend's 20, and that's really young. But apparently, like, the internet thinks that she cheated on him, and he's like taking her back and all. There's something really weird going on there. And then the fact that he might, there's all these rumors about him going to Arsenal. Uh, at the same time, I kind of love that part. But just I'm not going to go iKardashians level into this, because listen, iKardashians, they should know better. They're 30 whatever, whereas Felix and his girlfriend, they're just kids. But speaking of iKardashians, another honorable mention, Al Nasser. The rumors are, Timmy sent it my way, that they're kicking the tires on Mauro Icardi. If they actually pull that off, I mean, listen, I know they're talking about buying anybody and everybody under the sun at this point, but if they get Icardi to come, I mean,
what is the point? What is the end game? What is the end game?
Netflix show. We have a Netflix show. Ronaldo and his wife, and then
boom,
it's just drama on drama.
It's perfect. I'm in. I still haven't watched, what's that show that I refuse to watch?
Ted Lasso.
Ted Lasso. I will watch the El Nasser documentary the minute it comes out. I'll watch every episode.
The Ronaldos.
Yeah, listen, I'm in. I'm 100% sold. It's not even happening. It probably won't ever happen, but I'm sold. Yeah, that's not even my goal.
Give us the preseason version of whatever Al Nassr does, and we just want to be in the locker room. That's all.
Right.
It's not hard knocks, but it's hard fucks.
Yeah. I mean, we need maybe a little bit of off the field stuff because we got to catch a little bit of that too. But just get a little bit. Let us in for like a limited series. Release it for like 2 months, and we'll talk about it, and that's it.
Listen, I'm in. I'm 100% sold on that. You asked what they're driving at, Tyler. I mean, like, doesn't this feel like this is their way of essentially doing what Qatar did? And they can't really grease hands, at least maybe they still can, I don't know, but like, they can't really just bald-faced buy a World Cup by handing Exco members, bundles of cash anymore. So it feels to me that, Saudi Arabia is in the mix for 2030, right? I think it's them combined with who was the joint bid with them. Oh, my brain doesn't work sometimes. Give me a second. Okay, here. So it was Saudi Arabia with Greece and Egypt. And then the other bids were Portugal, Spain, Ukraine, others Morocco, and then the South American bid, which everybody thinks is going to win, Argentina, Chile, Paraguay, Uruguay, which makes a lot of sense because it's basically the 100th anniversary of the first World Cup. But this feels like Al Nasser and the amount of money they're spending, and I assume that they're not the only ones. Like, it feels like they're just trying to raise the profile of Saudi Arabian soccer in the hopes of getting the 2030 World Cup.
100%.
I assume that's what it's all about. So just to answer your question, what are they driving at? That's what I think it's all about. But my actual GOA is Mateu Lahoz, the Spanish referee who caught all sorts of shit. He was the referee for the Argentina-Netherlands World Cup game that was just absolutely bananas. He was throwing cards around left and right. I think there was 15 cards or something in that game, and he caught a lot of shit for that. I was one of I give referees some shit sometimes, but like, I actually thought he did about as well as you could do. That was a game that there was no way a referee was going to be able to control that game. Anyway, he was throwing cards around left and right. He got a lot of shit for it. He got sent home from the World Cup essentially after it. They gave that Qatari referee the third place game. I mean, different story, just ridiculous. But anyway, Lahoz goes back to Spain. His first game in La Liga is Barcelona versus Espanyol. Huge rivalry. He's right back into the mix, and he ends up giving 15 more cards in this game. He just
stick to your guns, man.
Amazing. He got shit on for weeks, and he goes right back to it. He's like, bam, you get a yellow card, you get a yellow. It was amazing. So shout out to him sticking to his guns despite all the shit he's been taking for the last month. I mean, that's awesome. Well done. Well done.
That is great.
just you're my absolute goa, Mateo Lahoche. And that's all we got this week. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you to Tyler. Always a pleasure. Thank you to Tim. It's great to have you on. Can't wait to see you in the red and white and black. I think those are the colors of St. Louis City. And everybody else, we'll see you next week. Cheers, guys.